You were playing on a tiny little stage, and before you actually played before a band called Silverchair. Now, this is when Silverchair was 16, 17 years of age, and they exploded in Australia, so much so that on this sideshow, you had kids hanging from rafters watching you, Ross, waiting for Silverchair to come on.
Oh, it was good for us because we hadn't played in front of that many people before, so they were... No, it was like Beatlemania hit overnight. It was kind of a little bit. It wasn't quite the same as the Nirvana thing because this crowd was just so young and they were crazy, absolutely crazy.
Did you teach these young boys anything backstage of that big day out, Ross? Because they had their parents and that there, but what did you boys teach Silverchair?
Well, I said it first up. I realised they had their parents there, so I explained where I'd left them a few stubbies. We kicked a footy backstage, and then the parents intervened saying, "You'll break a finger." So then we took them to the underground car park where the drummer at the time, Bill, was doing donuts in the Tarago, and they said, "Gee, how do you do that?" So we put them in the Tarago and taught them how to do donuts in the underground car park.
That is brilliant. I love that story. And
they didn't even have their L plates by that stage either, I don't think.
Oh, well, and Big Day Out was such a... Well, it's iconic here in Australia. It's one of the best festivals in the world of all time. And you were a part of one of the originals, Ross, because when Nirvana first came over, and they were... I mean, they weren't even headline at the first Big Day Out. Violent Femmes were. But you supported Nirvana the first time they came to Australia. So when you talk about the Beatles and Silverchair, what was it like with Nirvana, Ross? Can you remember those days?
I certainly can, and we'd known those guys for quite a while, but it didn't stick home till the day after the Big Day Out, where I was walking home. It was about 9 o'clock in the morning, and I ran into Novoselic and Grohl standing on a corner, and they just looked lost.
Yeah.
And I go, "How are you going?" And they just didn't speak, and I didn't speak because I couldn't. Yeah. And I go, "I'm going to bed," and I go, "What's up?" And they said, "Oh, we just heard from the manager the song's gone #1 in America." And I went, bloody hell, that was quick.
So you were there, Ross, when they found out that Smells Like Teen Spirit went to #1?
Yeah, I smelt like a beer towel, and they went to #1.
So, Ross, you know what? I've been to your shed at home as well on the farm, and you've got, Ross, they said to you, one of your biggest regrets was Kurt Cobain said to you, here's our merchandise. Grab whatever you want. You can grab as many T-shirts as you want. This is one of the first original Nirvana T-shirts, and you only took one, Ross. You've only got one at home.
Yeah, I only took one, and I wore it for a few years, and I thought I'd better hang it up, so now the silverfish are into it.
Ross, can we also talk about your great friendship that you have with Eddie Vedder from Pearl Jam as well? And you go over to Seattle quite a bit to see Eddie and have a couple of beers over there. And we've got you on the show to talk about this before, but still, one of the greatest story that I've heard from Ross was he and his lovely missus went over there to have a few drinks, and you got a phone call from Eddie saying, "Is it all right, Ross? I'm going to have a few other friends come over for a drink that night."
Yeah, well, we sort of hook up about every 4 years. We call it the Olympics, and he did. He rang me and he said, "Look, I'll be over about 7. He goes, "I've got a mate in town. Do you mind if he comes along?" And I go, "Oh, whatever. You know, mate of yours is a mate of mine." Yeah. So this bloke comes over. Anyway, he was a nice fella. He was pretty quiet, just observing and watching us just make fools of ourselves. And, you know, I meet this bloke, and his name's Bradley, and I'm sort of, oh, yeah, we're chatting away. And, I don't know, 1 o'clock in the morning, I'm going, "So, Bradley, what do you do anyway?" And he goes, "Look, I do a bit of acting. I've done some TV, I've done some movies." And he goes, "Oh, and I've done some live theatre." And I go, "Oh, good on you, mate. You stick with that live theatre. It's good grounding." Anyway, it turned out it was Bradley Cooper.
And you had no idea?
No bloody idea. I woke up the next morning and the missus goes, "Do you know he earned 100 million last year?" I went, bloody hell. Had no idea. I did apologise to Ed later on that day because they went to the footy together, but he said he had a good night because I didn't ask him about Clint Eastwood and I didn't ask him about this or anything. But he was a ripping guy, and he actually helped us cut up pine trees in Lucan's lounge room because another bloke turned up with 20 pine trees. So it was on with the chainsaw, and we did a bit of carpentry on for the night. It was a good evening.
Ah, that is brilliant. Brilliant, Ross. So, okay, Ross, can you tell us about the incredible tale of the Little Roo and how this come about? Because you do live out in the middle of nowhere. You're out in the sticks. So, what is your association with this kangaroo?
Well, I was coming home from work one night. I have a very good relationship with kangaroos up the bush.
Yeah.
There's me, the kangaroos, and Verica's panel beaters in Kyneton. So you tend to bruise a few every now and again. But there was this little bugger right in the middle of the road, and he wouldn't get off.
Yeah.
And he's just right outside my farm. And I just thought to myself, just do yourself a favour, mate, and at least paint a white line down the middle of the road. Yeah. And then end of story, and that was it. And I just woke up in the morning and I went, oh, I think I've written a book. And then I sort of thought I'd written a few books, and I was almost too embarrassed to tell anyone.
Yeah.
Eventually I told Wezzo about it. He did his usual eye roll, but then got back to me going, talk to me about this story you've come up with. And it just sort of rolled from there over a few years, really.
Gather around and pull up a chair. I have a story that will curl your hair. A tale so tall, it's hard to believe it's true. It's the incredible tale of Little Roo. It is great. I've given it to my young fella. Lenny loves it as well. Matty Weston, like you said, is a good mate. He's involved as well, and illustrated by Louis Fuzzhound. So this is a great little... I mean, these little rock books as well. Is that your shed? I think that's your exact shed's in it as well, Ross. Is that yours?
It could be described as one of the sheds, yeah.
Yes.
My shed's got more redback spiders and dead wombats in it.
Well, that's right. You can go get The Incredible Tale of the Little Roo now in any good bookstore. It's written by Ross and Matty Weston. I love you, mate. You're a great storyteller. You're a great performer. You are actually playing next Saturday, Ross. You're playing at the Crowbar, and you're doing a bit of a signing for the kids' book as well.
Yes, I've got a week to learn how to write and read, and I should hopefully sign some books. But Wezzo and Lewis will be up there, I think, so you'll get a good lot of signings.
Yeah, you're a legend, mate. Thank you so much. And for anyone else out there, if you want a bit of fun this weekend and you want to go see Ross shoot my head off, it's in a film clip called Better Not Bitter with the Cosmic Psychos, which was one of the greatest days of my life, actually. Just hanging out with Ross and the farm, and Ross shooting my head off.
I tell you what, I wish you'd had that mow when I shot your head off, mate. It's a shocker.
Knighty, you're a gun, mate. Thanks for coming on the show.
Good on you, mate. I'll see you next Saturday for a beer.
Beautiful.